You've got people that are now learning that you're in the business, and they're still extremely good prospects, even though you haven't showed them the plan. Don't think because they know you're in the business you can't invite them to hear about it. Those are tremendous prospects. You just use a different strategy. Use the credibility that's available to you. The Possible Dream, the Winner Circle, the Uncommon Freedom, the Saturday Evening Post article with Rich DeVos on the front, Dexter's books. You know, it's incredible what you can use for credibility. The different tapes that are available. And, you know, ask some simple questions of them like, you know, have you seen the 5-year retirement plan? What do you know about the walkaway income? Get them thinking so they realize that there's something they don't know about. And then relate it to their dream. You know, what is it that's their dream? You know, if the guy's been talking about a new house, you say, look, are you really serious about that new house? We need to get together. I'll show you my business, even though he knows what it is. So what? Get with him. Now, as far as new contacts, I look at that as strangers are simply friends that you haven't met yet. Every person that's a friend of yours right now is somebody that used to be a stranger. Is that right? So simply stated, new contacts or strangers are friends that you haven't met yet, and all you're really going to do is what? You're going to develop a friendship, and from that friendship you can make the invitation, and you can develop from that friendship a direct ship. And that's what you're looking to do. A couple key things that I like to use when I'm talking to people that I don't know and have just met. I use the word form, F-O-R-M, and each letter stands for something that reminds me when I'm thinking what to talk about. F stands for family or where they're from. You know, how many kids do you have? How long have you been married? How long have you lived in this area? And just ask some simple basic questions so that you can get to know the person and show an interest in him. Number 2 is occupation, the letter O, occupation. What kind of work do you do? How long have you worked there? Are you going to make a career with them? Sounds like a great place to work. Always build them up. Always compliment them. And, you know, R stands for recreation, F-O-R. R is recreation. Do you like to fish? Do you like to ski? Do you like to go boating? You know, find out something that you've got in common with one another so that you can hit it off together and start talking about those things. M stands for message or money. You know, the message might simply be, well, look, we got a lot in common. I got to go right now, but why don't we exchange names and business cards or names and phone numbers, and we'll get back together at a later time. And that's, you've made a contact. You don't necessarily have to invite him to a meeting right then, but if he's looking for a business, hey, set him up, you know. You want to get together Thursday night or Saturday night. Don't put him off necessarily, but don't chase him, don't jump on him either. So, you know, you talk about money, you know, you talk about the price of groceries, inflation, et cetera, and that gets usually a comment about, yeah, I wish there was a way I could make some more money, and then you've got an answer for him. So those are some things that I use in making cold contacts. If you want to call them that, I call them making friends. I got to tell you, one morning I woke up and I realized it was Kathy's birthday and I'd forgotten about it. I ran down to the store. I was going to buy her a tennis racket. Didn't know anything about tennis rackets. Went over there and I saw a couple looking at tennis rackets that apparently knew more about them than I did. I started to ask them about them and everything, and they were really helpful. They started to walk away, and you know, I realized that that was a sharp couple I'd never see again in my whole life if I didn't say something to them and make a contact right then. I ran up to the cash register. They were just walking away from the cash register, and I said, could you wait just a minute? I need to talk to you. And we went ahead and I checked out, and they were standing there waiting, and I went over and I introduced myself. I said, this is going to sound weird to you, but, you know, we don't know each other, but my name is Jim Pollan, and I just was really impressed with the way you helped me back there. I have my own business. I'm looking to expand. What kind of work do you do, and are you totally satisfied doing it? And he said, I hate my job. I do such and such, and by that time he was writing down his name and phone number, and I said, look, that's right. All you got to do is contact him. This guy had some kind of fancy degree that he wasn't even able to use. And I said, look, a lot of times I get real busy. If I don't call you in the next day or two, feel free to give me a call. And the next night he called me. We got together, showed him the plan, and out of that came one of our strongest direct distributor legs that we got today. I'm always contacting and talking with people. Just since we moved into our new home in May, we've had to have different people come out for different things. We bought a new washer and dryer, And the person that came out to install them was the owner of the company, of the appliance store business. And we got to talking a little bit. Come to find out he'd been in business for 20 years, had a successful business, but he was tired of working so hard, long hours, and tired of worrying about the employees all the time. Didn't know if they wanted to do it another 5 or 10 years. Already had a tremendous house, you know, beautiful home, nice estate on the river, driving a Cadillac Seville, but they wanted freedom. They wanted some freedom. And so I was talking to him about it, and to be honest with you, I forgot that I made the contact. And his wife called me up just about 2 weeks ago and said, look, my husband was talking to you, and she went through all the challenges they've had and everything, and she says, wonder if we could get together with you. And I said, well, yeah, that'd be fine. And she wanted to do it that afternoon. I said, no, we got some people coming over. Make a long story short, we got with them, showed them the plan. They're so excited, so turned on. They just got back from a trip to Holland that they had won in their plant store business. And they almost canceled the trip to Holland to be able to stay and build the Amway business. And they're supposed to be here sometime today, or already here in the audience. But you see, you never know who you might pass up if you don't talk to everybody. At the same time, I talked to the exterminator that came out to the house, and we made a contact there. I talked to the guy who came out and worked on the refrigerator and made another contact there, got another name and number. You know, I don't always necessarily get back to calling them all. Don't have time to. But the point is, I'm getting better at it and better at it and better at it, and so will you if you keep practicing. And one thing I found is to be a good listener after I ask questions. The other thing I found is I always like to compliment people. You know, it's a nice smile. I like the way you carry yourself. It's a good positive attitude that you have. And the other thing I found is I always like to build people up. You must be the owner here. And he says, no, I've just been working here for 2 weeks or something, you know. But it makes him feel good. Makes him feel good. I don't go in with the attitude that, boy, you need what I got. You really ought to hear what I got. You know, I got something you need. Well, right away, they're backing up, you know, like, what's this guy going to do to me? And so I feel like it's important that we just carry ourselves properly. And, you know, I say I have my own business, and each of you have your own business. The minute you got into this business, you had your own business. And even when I was still working a job, I didn't tell people where I worked during the day. I just said I have my own business. And I did, and so do you. And you need to be proud of it. There's more potential, you know, than all of us can take advantage of. That's one of the approaches I like to use. I tell a guy, look, I've got my own business. I'm impressed with you. There's more potential than I can take advantage of. Have you ever thought about going into business for yourself? And, you know, right away, he's trying to qualify himself. And, you know, if you're given a name as a referral, you know, and you don't know the person, or Kathy gave me a name, I'll call him up and I'll say, you know, my wife met you at the grocery store, and I understand that she said you were a very ambitious person. Is that true? What's he going to say? Well, you'll find out about him right away, won't you? And then I'll go right on and say, look, I've got my own business. I don't know you. You don't know me. I'm ready to expand my business right now. I'm looking for somebody pretty sharp. Tell me a little bit about yourself. And then I'll go from there and I'll say, look, we need to get together and explore the possibilities. I can't promise you anything. I love that phrase. I can't promise you anything. I can't promise you anything. It's always kind of putting it out there and taking it back, isn't it? It's kind of like holding that basketball out there. Here, come try to get it. I can't promise you you're going to get it, though. And I love that phrase. If you've got a well-known personality or a very successful business person that you feel intimidated by, but that you would love to see in this business, it's very important that you contact your upline, use your upline's advice and credibility to help get them into this business. Now, let me ask you this. If you had, and you do have, the opportunity to be in the top 0.5% income level of anybody in these United States, how many people would you contact and invite to get there? Would you really stop to worry about it? Would it really matter how many no-shows you had? Would it really matter how many people you showed it to that didn't get in? You got to remember, all you're really looking for are 6 people that want to do it and get in and make direct, right? And you're going to be a diamond. Now, the whole essential thing to remember here is that if it is to be, it's up to me. Say that. If it is to be, it's up to me. If it is to be, it's up to me. If it is to be, it's up to me. And then you'll be free in 83. Come join us in Diamond Club.
directly from Paris, Virginia, Jack and Effie Reid. Let's hear it for them. Woo!
Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank you. Have you ever been to an opportunity meeting, and when you walked in the door, you looked at all the people sitting there, and they had about as much personality as a row of mailboxes? Well, you look over at this one old gal, and she got a face that wore out 4 bodies. And you know that they're uptight before you're even starting. Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about that, and the subject's overcoming objections. When we get through the meeting, what happens? How do we handle it? Some people are going to bring up things in the way of excuses. Some people are going to bring up things searching for knowledge, wanting to know the truth as to how to get this business moving and how to make it happen for them. And you have to learn how to distinguish between those two. And it's vitally important that we do that. I just read in How to Win Friends and Influence People, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. And it's our job that when we're doing the plan and we're doing the meeting after the meeting, that through our excitement and our enthusiasm and our motivation, we transfer their feelings to our way of feeling and our way of thinking. So it's important that we know how to handle a few of these things. Now, first of all, nobody wins an argument. If it's right after the plan, if they're bringing up things like pyramids or chain letters or whatever, and you get in an argument with them, you're not going to win. So we have to learn how to reach them through the proper reason. You can, through proper reason, have victory. Now, one of the key things is in a meeting, don't bring up things that are negative that make people think in the wrong way. I've been in meetings before. We get through, and one of the couples sitting there who are new and they're excited and they want to make sure that they get that couple in, they lean over and they say, "I bet you thought this was a pyramid." The guy didn't even know what a pyramid was. And then he said, "Well, is it?" Or maybe they reach over and they say, "I bet you thought there'd be a lot of paperwork." Or, "I bet you'd like to know about saturation." Bringing up things to their mind that maybe that didn't even enter their mind. So we want to stay away from those kind of subjects. Don't bring them up. If they don't bring them up, don't bring them up. Talk about the yacht. Talk about the travel. Talk about this Coliseum. Talk about being with winners all over the world. Talk about the positive things. But if they do bring up something and they're searching for the truth, we need to know how to handle it. One of the first things we want to do is we want to hear them out. I'll be sitting in a meeting, I hear somebody bring up something in the way of an objection, and right away the distributor sitting there interrupts them and said, "No, that's wrong." They cut them off. They stop the flow right there. And that doesn't do anybody any good. Hear them out. Then come back with some statements that swing them over to your side. And one of the old standbys is, "I know how you feel. I felt the same way. But let me tell you what I found." Feel, felt, found. It's old. It's been used many years, but it still works tonight and every night. Be wiser than other people if you can. but don't tell them so. A lot of people after a meeting, they want to show how smart they are. And they want to show how they can overcome that prospect who has some doubt in their mind. And they want to show them how superior they are mentally. And in so doing, they lose them. You win the battle and you lose the war. We don't want that to happen. So let's talk about some of the common things that we run into as far as objections are concerned. And this first one, I think, is critical because it not only affects our prospects, but it affects the people in this business, and one that you mentally have to overcome in order to proceed in this business, and that's one of saturation. You have to understand and believe in your heart that we have an unlimited opportunity. You have to believe it. And I don't care if you live in a town of 500 people or 500,000 people or 5 million people, you've got to see this opportunity as unlimited. Because you can't convince anybody that you're showing this plan to that we're not saturated unless you believe it. So what are some of the things? Well, I get through the plan sometime, and you ever heard a statement like, well, everybody's in this darn thing. There's 2 of them on my block. You ever heard that? And I wondered how many people in their block actually wash their clothes. But I don't bring it out to them right then. But I might say something like, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. When I got in the business, there was a little old lady in our neighborhood, and she came trotting down the street in her tennis shoes, and she knocked on the door, and she sold us soap. So we knew there was some competition around, but I didn't look at that as a threat. But some people get that locked into their mind that 1 or 2 people where they work, or 1 or 2 people in their neighborhood, or 1 or 2 people in that little town they live in are distributors, so that automatically means there's no more business. Or somebody will make this statement, is there any distributors down in so-and-so town? I haven't heard much about it down there. Maybe that's a good place for me to go. Again, indicating that they're mentally thinking it's saturated. Well, let's just think about some figures for a minute. When somebody brings up that, I say, well, the way I looked at this thing and the way I had to overcome that mentally is I had to look at our total potential market. And a lot of times, I overcome their objections while I'm doing the opportunity meeting. If you can overcome it while you're doing the plan, then you take care of it. And one of the things to do it, I don't call the word saturation. I talked about the total potential market that we have. And I say, let's look at our total market. In the United States, there are 220 million people. There are 80 million families. The average family will spend anywhere from $20 to $60 a month every month on the type of things that we have. And they're going to buy it month after month after month because we're dealing in consumable, non-perishable goods. They're going to buy them, they're going to use them, they're going to repurchase them month after month after month. And I said, then look at all the small businesses that are out there. And all the intermediate-sized businesses and all the large corporations, they're all potential buyers for us. And last year in the United States, our potential market was $50.1 billion worth of business. And we did $1.4 billion out of that total. So we got a little room to go. But if we look on the numbers side, we have to understand that we've got an unlimited market as far as people are concerned. With 220 million people here and 23 million in Canada and 55 million in France and 66 million in Germany and 13 million in Australia and 9 million in Hong Kong, and we just keep going on and on and on and on. We have a potential right now in the markets that we're in of something like 2.5 to 3 billion people. And we've got approximately 1 million distributors worldwide, so we've got a little more room to go. What do you think? And one thing that Dexter taught me back in the beginning, he said, get a map of the United States and put it up. Put it up in your office. Put it up in your garage. Put it someplace where you see it. And my friends, if you'll take that map and you'll put it up and you'll take a pin with a little flag on the end of it and you stick it right in the city where you live, and then you step back and you look at that map, then look at all the rest of that territory that you got to work in. And look how small and insignificant that pin looks in relationship to the rest of that territory. It's phenomenal. The same way with the world map and a world globe. Look and understand how big your market is. But when you go into a situation where you're overcoming an objection, You got to know where you're coming from. You've got to have some facts and figures to back it up. And you can't just glibly cut people off and say, oh man, you're crazy, don't worry about that, and go on, because if it's in their mind, they're going to think it and it'll hold them back. What's another big thing we get hit on? One of the biggest objections I guess we run into is time. And I think that's probably the number one excuse. Now what we have to determine when we're talking about time, when somebody gets through the plan and they say, well, it looks good, Jack, but I don't have the time. A lot of times I look at them and say, I know how you feel. I felt the same way. I was working at the bank every day, and I was spending night hours after the bank, and I was going on road trips. And when I first looked at this plan, I said I didn't have time either. But then you got to go into and explain to them what time really is and what it really means to people, and let them figure out what the value is to them. And if a guy says to me right at the plane, well, Jack, I don't have the time, I said, great. Man, you're the guy I'm looking for. Wouldn't you all rather have somebody that's busy and out of time than somebody that's got all the time in the world, sits around the house watching the idiot box? I would. Because we know from past and know from experience that busy people get the job done. And I'll say, now, I know you're busy. I know you got a full schedule. But I know one thing, that you got 256 hours in a week just like I've got 256 hours. And I know that you can get anything done that you want to, if you want to bad enough. And then I'll look them right straight in the eye without flinching, and I'll say, let's be honest with each other. You do the things that you want to do. You find time to do the things that you want to do. And isn't that the truth? If you want to play golf bad enough, you'll find a time. If you want to bowl bad enough, you'll find time. If you want to knit bad enough, you'll find time. Whatever it happens to be. And our business is the same, and you might as well be honest with them right up front. And if you sense that it's just an excuse, then a lot of times I'll just ask them right straight. I'll say, well, now, let me ask you about this. Are you telling me you don't have time just to make an excuse? Or didn't you see the business and its potential? Or is this something that you just don't want to do? And then put it right back to them and try to find out where they're really coming from. And then the guy says, well, it's something I want to do, but I just don't see how I'm going to work it in my schedule and how I do all those things. And then you ask them a simple question. Did you ever dig a ditch? Now this might sound like sophisticated business to you, but back home, back up in the hills of Virginia, it's just a very simple little analogy that if I got to dig a ditch from here over to the end of that stage, and I've got a pick and I've got a shovel and it's just me, it's going to take me a certain amount of time. But if 3 or 4 of my friends come along and they start digging that ditch and they start helping me, we're going to get that ditch dug a lot quicker. And it's going to be a lot easier. And then you start talking about other businesses in the world and how they multiply and duplicate their time. And we can go into the restaurants, the car dealers, the food store, the retail chains. All of them, without fail, have built new stores to get into a bigger market and also to save them time. And if you watch most of the successful ones, they've also done it in a way that they are duplicating the successful system that they have. So we're doing the same thing. So I asked the guy a very simple question. If you had 100 distributors that came into your business and they each put 10 hours a week into the business, you'd have 1,000 hours that you didn't have. But suppose you had 200 distributors that put 20 hours into it. You'd have 4,000 hours that you didn't have. And wouldn't it be exciting to know that you had an organization like Dex, and that all these people here and all the people last weekend and all the people in Portland and all the people in Kansas City and all the other coliseums that are being filled, wouldn't it be nice to know that if each one of them just put 2 hours in there, that you'd have more job done and more production done and more things done than any other business around in the world? Wouldn't that be exciting? Huh? You multiplying that time and that effort? And there isn't anybody in this Coliseum that hadn't been in a situation where they need to be 2 places at the same time. That happens all the time. So time is something that's mental. And we have to help them through that. But if a guy says he's only got one night, I say, great, we'll take it. We'll show you how to multiply yourself. And working through our line of sponsorship, we'll help you get through it. Now suppose the guy's sitting there saying, well, man, this is one of those pyramid deals. It used to be I'd look at him and I'd say, man, we're not selling pyramids. What's wrong with you? But then I learned that some people, they really didn't understand what a pyramid was. So I said, just a minute, isn't pyramid selling illegal? They'd say, yeah. I'd say, well, you know, we operate in every state in the United States and every province of Canada. And we're operating in 23, 24 countries all over the world. I said, so we're operating legally. Now let's examine the differences between pyramid selling and ours. And I'll take a piece of paper or the board and I'll draw two pyramids on there. And I'll show them that in pyramid selling that company at the top of the pyramid is selling through their levels, and they've got a markup of price in those levels, and they're going to make money on each level that they sell to, and that they also have got a finder's fee that when they get into the lower level, the person that brought them in is going to have a recruiter's fee, and the one above them is going to make some money, and the one up above them is going to make some money, and the one at the top of the company is going to make some money. I said, now let's examine that a little bit compared to ours. First of all, we don't have any recruiter's fee. Secondly, the levels in our business that go back to the company, we all buy the products at the same identical price. The difference in ours is the amount of effort that you put into building your business, and the amount of effort that you put into moving the products determines the type of discount that you're going to get or refund. And as it comes back down through, everybody's paying the same price, and each one of the levels and you are the same, and you can determine how much money you want to make. But in other outfits, when you buy into one of those levels, that's where you're going to be. I said, so while it may look like a pyramid, it certainly doesn't operate. I said, but there's one other big factor. As a direct distributor group develops within that structure, it's going to be broken out and it's going to be operating as a separate business. So the configuration would change, and all you do is erase a segment out of that one pyramid, and there you go. How about chain letters? People say, well, this looks like one of those darn chain letters. And sometimes you'd like to wrap a chain around their neck, wouldn't you? But that's, of course, not the right attitude. But what you're talking about there is in chain letters, if there's something happening in the middle of the chain and one of the links stops, then, of course, the whole thing stops. And ours, while it may resemble that, of course, is a line of sponsorship, and that line of sponsorship is in levels. And in those levels, if something would happen, in some strange coincidence that somebody in there wouldn't do anything, that line automatically moves up. And it stays intact all the time. And we understand that. And we have to help them understand it. And the part that I understand most of all is that we can sit there and we can logically overcome anybody's objections. We've got enough tapes, we've got enough books, we've got all the answers. But the one big thing that's going to make you overcome most people's objections that they bring up is the amount of enthusiasm that you have for your business. And Dexter Yeager said something to us the other night in the Diamond meeting that is the crux in the heart of this business. He said, gentlemen, I can sponsor anybody that I want to sponsor. When I make up my mind, I want to do it. And he said, the reason that I sponsor people over their objections is the amount of commitment and belief that they see in my eyes. And my friend, that is the key. There isn't anybody in this business that is committed as much as Dex and Bertie. And when you look at him, you do see total belief. And you do see total commitment. And when someone looks in those eyes and they think that they don't have time, they have to look in there and see there's a man that found time and there's a man who wants to build this business. And Effie and I pray that everybody sees that in us and in our organization, the great leaders that we have. And a lot of times after a meeting, we run into some people, they just want to run their mouth. They're just ignorant and they want the rest of the world to know it. And it's real funny how a narrow mind and an open mouth go together. And what we have to do is overcome it. And one big word in there is a word called love. Because I maintain that most of the people bring up the objection in this business really, really want to get ahead. There's some that just don't understand. And it's our job to help them do that. And when you learn how to do that, then your business will grow to the heights, just like it's right here. And Dexter said the other night, the diamonds in this room will have businesses bigger than mine. And I said, hallelujah, man, I can't wait. And I want y'all to meet the gal that helped me overcome all my objections and all my negative when I started the business, because she was 3 months ahead of me when we started. She believed it from the first night. But because of her enthusiasm, I knew that we could do this thing and we could make it happen. And I call her Miss America because she's my Miss America, and I love her very much. I want you to meet my wife, Effie. Come on, baby.
Y'all gonna make me cry. You know, when I get on this stage, it's the most humbling experience in the whole world. And I can't wait for you to do it because, man, you know, I know that Jack and I are no different than you sitting out there. And inside, so help me, I want to cry. I want so bad to reach out and to let you know how real it is that you can be on this stage. I love you so much. There's not one of you sitting in this Coliseum that cannot be a Diamond Direct distributor if you make up your mind to be a Diamond Direct distributor. And I believe that. But we talk about objections. Man, I'm probably, when you talk about getting me mean, wild, fired up, whatever, you throw an objection to me about the business, and I'm not the best one to take it. Because, and that's not the way to be. But you know, objections to me are excuses in most cases. And when somebody throws me a negative, like after a meeting, now I try to be real nice. My face might turn as red as that lady's dress sitting right back there, and I get fired up and I get mad. But I try not to holler at them. But if they say things like, well, I don't know, these products cost too much money. Oh, I said, I want to tell you something. And then I get talking fast. And I said, what you need to do is I need to show you a product demonstration. I need to show you that in this little quart LOC, it's a 55-gallon drum. You can't see it, but it's real. And I need to show them. They go, really, really? And you need to show them that that box of SA8, that's 6 pounds, got 56 wash loads. You need to tell them. You need to show them. And you need to smile about it. You need to take control. The minute you lose that control, they got you, right? They got you. You don't believe. You don't believe. I knew that thing didn't work. The minute, really, they say, everybody's an Amway. Oh, I say, oh, yeah? It's real funny that everybody's an Amway. Because Jack and I live in Paris, Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C. Right within a 5-hour radius of our house is a third of the population of the United States. Now, in that population, we went to an Amway, it was like not a convention, it's like a leadership seminar last year. Now, this takes in, I know I've said this a lot, but man, it still just blows my mind. I want to tell y'all what potential we got. This is just one part of the United States. with New York City, with Boston, with Pittsburgh, with Washington, D.C., Baltimore, all those cities. 250 distributorships were at that meeting last year. Only 250 distributorships. I'm telling you, we got so far to go. And when people say that everybody's in this thing, say, honey, watch out. You better get in now, because if you don't, before long, man, somebody else will get all your friends. After every meeting now, I say, I tell you what I want you to do. If you decide not to get in our business, honey, that's great. I'm standing there like that. That's great. But I want you to go home, and you make a list of all the people you can think of that might have gotten in this business. And you put that list up on your refrigerator, put it somewhere, and I want you to watch within the next 2 and 3 years, and you can check off those people that got in the Amway business. That's what's going to happen, and that's the urgency we have to put in. That's right. Another thing that people say, I don't want to leave my kids. Maybe that makes me cry. Because when we got in the business, I didn't want to leave my kids either. And I was going to go take a job. But you see, it wouldn't have mattered if I'd taken a job and I hadn't gotten Amway. I mean, it would have mattered. But it wouldn't have mattered if I was home at that point. Our life was so out of control. I mean, we didn't have things together. Amway or not Amway, I mean, was a big difference. It wasn't that I left my kids. It was how I was when I was with my kids. And all 3 of my kids are here today. And my 19-year-old is turned on to Amway. Man, I tell you, I'm going to tell you something. When you get in this business, y'all, and you leave those kids and you say, Mom and Daddy, go out and draw circles, and we promise we're going to have a lot of things, and maybe they wait months and months. What do you mean we're going to get a lot of things? You've been gone and gone and gone. We don't have anything. My mama always is gone. I had a distributor's kid do that to me not too long ago. You know, if you ever watch Saturday Night Live, I haven't, but the little whiners, me, you know. We joke about that, and it just gets me this, and I said, I'm going to tell you something. Your mom and daddy are going to be able to take you so many places. Your mom and daddy are making a life for you. Not just a time right now, but a life. And you see, I saw our oldest son, whether he wanted to or not. He had to haul those products, and man, he didn't always do it joyfully, let me tell you. Not joyfully at all. Come on, we're going to get these products. We're going to meet the bus. We're going to meet the truck. You know, we're going to do this. And sometimes it was a good attitude, sometimes it wasn't. And then our middle son, he just kind of grew in it, and he thought he's Superman. You know, Super Amway. I can do anything, because he never was told he couldn't. And you see these kids come along with this attitude. And I got to tell y'all, sitting out here, if there's any doubt in your mind about your kids in this business, then it's right straight from the pits. Because when you get in this business, and you can tell your people, I can guarantee you get in this business, and with especially this organization, and you stay plugged in, your kids are such winners. Your kids begin to understand that you're a winner. Nobody else's house in the whole world do they go in, and people say, your mom and daddy's a winner. No place else. You watch. The you that are in, you know, your kids bring home friends, and they want to always come to your house because you make those kids feel special. Because, see, when you get in Amway, you are special. You're special because people understand, man. You are special. You are going to be diamonds, and your kids see that. And all of this creates such a belief in your children that when they grow up, they don't have all this guck. They won't have to go through all these stupid, objections and all this junk. Man, they got the belief. They got the dream. And the neatest thing is, I guess I'm speaking to you singles or you young people, whoever's out there, that Jack and I got in this business, and we took a lot of flack from our family. Not necessarily don't do it, but we just don't have time. My sisters, well, you're the kind, you've got the personality, you can do it, this kind of stuff. We said, well, when we make a lot of money, they'll get in. We made a lot of money, they still, well, too many people are in now, right? So then our son gets in. Oh, this turns me on. Whoo. And he goes and he sponsors my sister's daughter. Praise the Lord. Then he goes and sponsors my cousin. That's right. My cousin's child. You know what's happening? They didn't see it, but these kids see it. And I don't know whether these kids are going to reach their parents or not. But I tell you, that does something to me, man. I get so joyful. I can hardly stand it. Because watch what this next generation is going to do, my friend. We got a lot of work to do, but, man, we're bringing up a bunch of winners. And so you wouldn't... And I have one more thing is sometimes the women will say, well, I just can't do without my husband. He just doesn't want to do it, and he's just giving me a hard time. And that's all a real personal thing. I have to talk to him on a personal basis. But as long as the husband doesn't say, you won't do it, they say, come on, honey, you can do it. And you've heard me say this 1,000 times, women. You just tell those women if they come up to you and say that, say, honey, you turn on that love machine. You love that man, no matter if he's laying on that couch drinking that beer or what. You go out at night and you draw those circles, and you confess over his almost dead body laying there that he is a winner, that he is a winner. And you believe in your heart that he is a winner. And you go in that prayer class and you pray, oh, God, I know he's a winner. Somewhere in there there's a winner. And you believe that. And with your attitude, you go out there and you love him. Even if you have to throw up afterwards, you love him with your attitude, really. And God will raise him up. I love you. God bless you. I'll see you later.